From across the comic book community multiverse, the Comic-Con podcast begins now with your hosts, Justin, aka Nemesis Prime.
If you give them the title of influencer, then that's giving them more power, right? That's how it is. Like, I'm a nobody. Listen, I'm a nobody.
Zach, aka the Manimal.
We talked about it for a full, I believe, 7 to 8 minutes on an hour-long normal podcast for a show. And you would have thought we set their house on fire with the backlash. So,
hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Comic-Con podcast, season 3, episode 19. Recording this on May the 10th. Of course, this is your boy, Nemesis Prime. Going to be a little bit of an odd week. Hey, there's nothing going on because guess what? There's the writer's strike, so everything has been shut down. We got no movie news, no TV news, but there's always comic book news because those writers aren't on strike. Our man, Zach, is not with us this week, but we have a big week to talk about because we have a very special guest. You know him from 3 Men in the Basement. You know him from the Grotto, from the basement himself. Currently, Otto from the Grotto. What's going on, Everett?
What's up? I am in the Grotto hanging out, and you know what? The more things change, the more they stay the same. So definitely excited to be here on the Comic-Con podcast. Definitely can't fill Manimal shoes by any means, but here to chop it up with you and talk about some really cool topics, and really excited to be here tonight. Thank you very much for having me, as always.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah, there's some good. We got some good articles tonight. You know, you're an old school reader, so that we definitely have some interesting stuff. But first and foremost, of course, if you don't know Everett, you can find him on Instagram, of course, at Everett _ Otto or Otto _ Grotto, and then of course 3 Men in the Basement. You could always find him on that Instagram and also their YouTube channel as well. You know, those guys are kicking it over there. Tons of videos. They've been going to conventions the past couple of years, and more recently, where were you guys at? We're gonna kind of get into Free Comic Book Day a little bit.
Yep.
So, of course, for myself, it's weird because typically Free Comic Book Day, I go out shopping. And I think this is the first time Free Comic Book Day that I actually didn't spend any money. I actually made money.
I was shocked when you said you were working. I almost fell off my chair. I didn't expect that to hear that. So
it was weird, man. I literally just decided to. I got asked by my local comic shop owner, Clockwork Comics and Cards in Union, New Jersey, because he was going away. He had somehow planned a trip like on that same weekend, and he's like, "Hey, can you just help out my son because he doesn't want to be by himself, and none of the other guys could help out." I was just like, yeah, I guess I'll work. It's taking away from going shopping from other shops. So, it is what it is. We'll get into some of the books that came out, some of the funny things that happened at the shops. But what about you, man? You guys were at a shop. I know I saw you guys on Instagram and YouTube. So, where were you for Free Comic Book?
Yeah, so I definitely had a plan. I definitely wanted to go shopping. There's a few stores that I wanted to go at, but here in Connecticut, we have some really, really killer shops. But I want to see where the deals are, and I feel that if you're a store owner and you're not taking advantage of this day as a day to move your inventory, then you're doing a disservice to the business. You want to go into black in this business, and on this weekend, whether you stretch it out for the day, whether you make the sale only a day. I know a few people did like a 5-day sale. I know a couple shops did a 3-day sale. Wow. And I know 1 or 2 stores, which I'll talk about, that hit a banger of a sale, but it was only from 10 to 5 o'clock that you could go in and get these deals. And he knows that, So I had some adulting to do in between. So I kind of broke it up here in Connecticut. And the first store I went to was Richie's Comic Cabana in Waterbury, Connecticut. And for those of you guys don't know, Richie's Comic Cabana, Richie and his team are a staple here. They're at Terrificon. They show up every month at our Plainville show. Richie's been in the business for 35 plus years, and he does a sale that it's just phenomenal. And the best part is everything's marked. And to give you an idea, his wall books were buy one, get one free. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, you buy a $300 wall book, you're getting a $300 wall book for free. You buy all his graded books were 20% off and or negotiable with cash. Statues were 30% off and maybe even 40% off. And back issues that were in the bins were all 50% off. So you can't go wrong with that. So this is a store that I hit up right away, Justin. I was there at 10 o'clock. I was the first one in line.
Is there like a line out the door?
I expected there to be a line, but the minute the doors, I I think people were waiting in their cars, and me, I just went right up there and I was like, "Hey, can I come
Of
in?"
course.
Yeah. So I got in, and I'd be honest with you, I didn't make any purchases until the doors were open. But I'll tell you, one guy came in, and whether or not, and I know people used to do this at Zap because Zap Comics always did it. They scouted out the night before, right, Justin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll
And
go in, they'll kind of see the wall, they'll kind of pick and get an idea of like what the big books are going to be, like what their inventory kind of looks like, but it won't be 50% off or better.
yeah. And this guy walked in, and within 8 to 10 minutes, I hear Richie say, "Hey, do you want a short box for all those books?" And he cleaned out all these Spider-Man keys, all these bronze keys, some Silver Age books, but he went in there with a plan and he got a lot of books. And then people started rolling in and things like that. So that was a great sale. I was only there for 1 hour, but the time that I was there, I mean, he was packed, and I will be doing a video, cheap plug here, on 3 Men in the Basement once I get that up and running about Free Comic Book Day, probably over the weekend. So
Yeah, definitely.
that was
And
my
it's
first
funny,
stop.
you said Zap, and when I used to go to Zap, and they still do it, they literally they'll hand you a diamond box, like the empty diamond boxes, like for people that don't bring short boxes. So at least you have something to, and they're right at the door. They have them stacked up like at least 6 boxes high, a ton of rows, and you'll just, hey, do you need a box? Hey, do you need a box? And that's how people carry around their comics. And you've been in the shop. I'm sure other people that are listening have been in the shop, so they know the way Zap is. You kind of just need to walk through. You either bolt to the wall and be like, I
Yep.
want this, and this,
Yep.
or you just start going through back issues and just, I mean, I remember when I was collecting big runs, like you just take a giant chunk and throw it into the box. You're like,
Right.
I don't care if there's like doubles or triples, I'll figure it out towards the end.
Yeah. But
They
you're
have all
getting a
deals.
good deal.
Yeah, but that's pretty wild that that guy was just buying all the Bronze Age, and hell, for 50% off, where else are you gonna get that type of deal?
Yeah.
If it's getting all that. So
Yeah.
so since you only had an hour there, what did you end up picking up?
So I ended up picking up late. I in the grotto. I'm living in space. I do like my statues, though. I like my figures, and I've been really partial to the Diamond Select Gallery statues. They're usually 50, $60. I think they're very well made. And they fit in the DTOFs. They fit in, on your shelves and stuff like that. So this is very funny. So I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the Better Ray Bill statue is a kick-ass statue. It's relatively new. And I was looking at it and I was like, I'm a huge Better Ray Bill fan because Thor 337 was so important to me growing up. And I was going to buy it. But then I overheard a young kid, by young kid, I mean, somebody in his like young teen say to Dad, that's the statue that I want. Can I have that for my birthday? And I said, Richie, can I get the Better Ray Bill? And I hear the kid go, oh, Dad, we just missed it. And I said, hey, man, do you want it? And the dad looks at me, and the guy was my age, and he goes, it's his birthday. I go, take it, man. And Richie kind of looked at me and he goes, you sure you don't want it? I go, Richie, I'll find that statue again. Let this kid have it for his birthday, But me, being a mutant fan, being a redhead fan, I saw a great statue of Wanda from WandaVision. And just gorgeous statue. And for 40% off, I couldn't pass it up. So I grabbed that. I grabbed 2 older Strange Tales, the Warlock issue with him on the cover. That was my $150 book. And then to go with that, I bought, I paired it up with the Justice League issue 10, I believe. And that's the cover. I haven't actually read it yet. That's the cover where they're in the mirror and their bodies are all dysmorphed. It's the early Justice League. Yeah. So I picked that up. I'm trying to get the early Justice Leagues, raw, just to have the 1 through 12. I'm trying to get those. And I picked that up. So I picked up the statue. I picked up that. And I did put a down payment on a big book, which I'm going to pick up at Terrificon. But I'm going to keep that till Terrificon.
Okay.
So some of my funds went to that. And, for those of you guys don't know, Justin, you know me, I'm a big fan of putting books on layaway. Store owners will do it. If you have a good relationship with the store owners, some will do it, some won't. You're not going to get as good as a price as if you have the cash in hand. But hey, I think sometimes it's good to go for it because it's eventually be yours.
Yeah, I had that conversation with Keystone Comics out in PA. I was out there about a month ago with 360 Comics and Comic Dunes, and he was telling me he picked up a First Star Sapphire, and he was paying it over almost a good 12 months at his local shop. Because you don't have that type of money. It could be like $1,000+ book. I don't really have that type of money right now. But you know what? If I dump $100 every month or 200
Yep.
every month, you pay it off.
Right.
You know it's going to be yours.
Yeah.
The owner knows that he's going to get the money, whether it's today or in 6 months or 8 months, something like that. And he's making a future purchase for you because you're going to come back, right?
Yeah.
And with you and Richie, like you said, you've been there multiple times. You're always there for when you guys do your crawls. So I mean, that's the way
Yeah.
to do it. I unfortunately don't have anybody around here that I'm like, I really need this book. Typically, if it's for me, it's like I need a Golden Age book. I'm
Right.
not
Right.
finding Batman Golden Age is around
Yeah.
my place. So
Exactly.
it's
But,
pretty wild. So you went to Richie's.
yep.
So that was at like 10 o'clock in the morning. I
That was it.
probably was just getting to my shop by the time that you were
Okay.
leaving. And for me, like I said, I was at Clockwork Comics and Cards in Union. It was just me and the son's owner. We were pretty busy. We were busy
Right.
from the moment that we opened the door until at least like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like
Really.
a lot of normal people coming in, grabbing their free comic book day books
Yeah.
as well as like the weekly books. But then and then they were still pulling stuff off the wall. Same thing. We were doing like half off back issues, 25% off the wall, like a couple dollars off of trades and hardcovers. But it was good to see a lot of different people, especially in the shop that you normally don't see. But
Yep.
then you get those people that are just like, and I'm sure maybe if you were at other shops, like I had one guy just come in and he was just like, oh, I want these couple free comic books because we limited them to 4. We limited the free
Sure.
comic book days to 4.
Yep.
He's like, oh, you know what I'm doing? And I go, no, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just going to all the shops and just getting the free comic books. I'm like,
Yeah. You don't want
okay,
to tell me that.
like,
I
do I
mean,
really? I don't really care. So, like, when I can, I'm going to tell you a secret here, and everybody's going to know this. So, anybody who just kind of came in and was like, you could tell that they're really just coming in for the books. As I was like picking up the free comic books that were behind the counter, I'd kind of crimp it a little bit
yeah.
because I'm just like, that's
Yeah.
all they're here for. They're here for
Yeah.
these free books. I'm like, they don't deserve near mint 9.8
Yeah, right. They're not
copies.
getting 9/8. Absolutely. And I mean, I think though that you got to buy something, man. And
Yeah.
you got to spend a little bit of cash because they do have to. Those books aren't free for them. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's what people don't understand. They have to buy them, and there's different levels that you can buy in at Free Comic Book Day. You know what I mean? So that's something that people don't realize. So that is what it is.
Like I know my shop only got like 5 copies of that Spider-Man 2, the video
Okay.
game one.
Yep.
And I didn't even know about the book. For me, being a comic book person, I didn't even know about the book until Saturday when some kid asked about it. And I was just like, do we have this book? Because it wasn't on the wall
Yeah.
or where we displayed all the free comic books, and it wasn't in the bins or in the short boxes where everything was. So I was just like, I don't even know about this book, to be honest,
Yeah.
man. Like, so I found out about it later in the day. So
Yep.
I was there all day. I worked. What else did you do? What other shops did you end up?
So
going
then
to?
from there, so that was in Waterbury. So then I went to another LCS, which are good friends of mine. And this is the true mom and pop store. This store is called Heroes and Hitters. They're in Rocky Hill, Connecticut, and they're great people. They don't have big keys on the wall. They have decent wall books, but they did something really simple. They know the population that they're getting. So they did 50% off back issues. Perfect, right? Because they know that's good. But when I went there were a lot of families there. It was very, very kid friendly. And that's what they want to do. They have a table set outside. They get a couple pizzas by 12 o'clock. They do have cake and they give the kids. So they want to make it that family affair, which some stores make Free Comic Book Day out of. And when I was there, I was looking around and I was digging through some X-Men books. I'm looking to get a lot of these Art Adams X-Men's because he's going to be at Terrificon. So I'm going to try to find some books that I want him to sign, maybe do a remark. And I think I had a total of $100. No, it was maybe like $150 in books. And I went to cash out and they're such nice guys. Wayne looks at me and he goes, is $50 okay? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, yes, $50 is great for all these books. You know what I mean? So I ended up leaving there and I was only there for 35, 40 minutes because they were really busy and I didn't, and they're a mom and pop store. So it was just a husband and wife working it. And I didn't want to monopolize their time or anything. I can go in there. I go in there 3 times a week and just, it's like your local bar, hanging out and, just talking shop for a little while. So I grabbed some cool books. I spent some money. I wanted to spend some money and I got some neat books and some stuff that I'm going to carry on with. So that was my second stop of the trip.
Nice.
So that was fun.
Anywhere else on Free Comic Book Day? Or just
yes.
Geez,
Yes,
you were all over in between
this is
doing adulting? Oof.
yeah, doing that too, and then adulting, and then he stopped off at a pub for lunch, and had a couple Tito's. So
Yeah.
he went to the third place. But Justin, I was embarrassed that I haven't been back to this store because this store was on one of our crawls that we went to, and you picked up a huge Star Wars book that day. It
Mhm.
was called Comics and Collectibles in Glastonbury, Connecticut. And
Is that
do
the
you
one
remember
downstairs?
we
Like,
had to
when
go
you
down?
walk in, you have to go down
Yeah,
into, like, the basement, and there's, like, all yeah, it's like a but it's
yeah.
big. It's
It's
okay.
big, but it's in the basement of a store, and there
Yeah.
was the owner, and the owner was there, and I'd talked to him before, and he was a cool guy to talk to. I think he didn't kind of get the premise of the swap and the discount. So the first thing he said to me was, Otto, he goes, if you ever do another swap again, or if you ever do another crawl again, he
Mhm.
goes, I'll make sure that everything is how you guys expect it. You know what I mean? Like price wise, we did
Yeah.
spend some money there, but we haven't gone back in a while.
Mhm.
But he had big books, he had graded books, raw books. He had lots of people there. He'd had this whole nook, this whole area of the store where all the back issues were $1,
Wow.
and if you wanted to find fillers, you could find your fillers.
Mhm.
But I was there, and there's a couple books that I was eyeing, and I did an interview with him, and it was really, really cool. But all of a sudden, I'm looking through the books, and lately I've been hunting these really early Silver Age / Golden Age books, DC books too, because I
Mhm.
think they're getting harder and harder to find. And I saw a copy of Superman 147, which is the reprint of the first appearance of the Legion of Superheroes.
Mhm.
It's from the Action Comics where Superman's standing there, and it's got Cosmic King, Lightning Lord, and Saturn Queen, and Superman's in the force field. It's an
Yeah.
iconic cover.
It's like the Jury, right? They look like
Yes, the
they're
jury, and they've got the 2 word bubbles. And
Mhm.
this book was in good shape, and it's a 10
Yeah.
center. So now I'm tapped out on cash though, and I didn't want to use the card. Right now, I do want to say this though, like I try to keep it cash because you don't want
Yeah,
to
yeah, of
whatever.
course.
Yeah, so I had a I had $100 bill in my pocket that I was holding on to, and I had the card, and he had $1.50 on it. So after we talked for a little bit, I was like, "Oh, this is a book that I'm after." And he
Mhm.
goes, "Good book, very underrated. I'm surprised it's still here." So as I was about to leave, I said, "Hey, what can we do for this?" And he goes, "How about $100?" Justin, I flipped this $100 out of my pocket so quick, man. I said, "Here you go, take it."
Those are the
And
best ones.
yeah. Oh, and I've been ogling over this book. This is a Kurt Swan book. This is
Mhm.
an early 10 center. And this is, Legion of Superheroes, who I was a huge fan of growing up in the 70s and 80s. So I can't wait to ogle. This is a raw book. I probably won't get this graded.
Mhm.
It's gradable, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
definitely that nice to get graded, probably a 5.5 or a 6, but this is something that I want to keep because this is such a part of Superman Americana,
Yeah, just
so
mylar it up. It looks nice,
yeah,
it'll
and
look
these
fine
top
like
loaders
that,
too.
so
So
oh,
yeah,
perfect then.
so I had a busy day on Free Comic Book Day, and it was fun. It was fun. It was I want to say it was revitalizing,
Yeah.
and it was fun to see the comic stores really, really busy again, and more importantly, thriving.
Mhm.
Instead of hearing the stories of, oh, this store is closing or this store is closing, so
Yeah.
you know.
So, since you were at, like, 3 different shops, did you see a lot of kids? Like, was it a mixture, adults,
Yep.
around our age, what was it?
Well, it's different per store. Like I think
Mhm.
Richie's, the first hour at Richie's were
Mhm.
guys around our age that wanted to spend money and get good
Yeah.
deals. Then, like, well, I should say I was only there for an hour, but then the last like 15 minutes, you could see the younger kids start coming in.
Mhm.
Heroes and Hitters had tons of young kids there, to the point
Mhm.
where I talked to a dad and I was like, hey, just regular guy. I said, hey, we're holding our own show. And he's like, that's cool, man. But he goes, I'm really only here for my kids. And I'm like, no problem, man. I get it.
That's cool.
And then
Yeah, yeah.
when I went to the other store, by this time it's 2 o'clock, and like comic shows, it's 3 o'clock is where it starts to dwindle down. So
True. Yep.
when I got there, I was there at about 2 o'clock, and he was busy. People were strolling in, but he wasn't as busy as I thought. But he did say he was busy when they first opened, because
Mhm.
let's face it, it's a busy weekend. You only have so much time on the weekend. So
Yeah.
I would think it was a mixture of all, but more importantly, it was good to see all the stores busy. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely I thought that at my shop too. I definitely seen a mixture, but I seen a lot more kids, a lot more parents that didn't know anything about the hobby, right? They're there for their kids. So when they come in, they ask for the titles. It's interesting the titles that they ask for free comic book day, right?
Yeah.
Because you could, there's what, like probably like 50 different titles, and people aren't walking in just being like, I want the Spider-Man one, I want the Avengers one. They ask for these like random ones, so you're like, these kids like are either just getting into the hobby or that's something that they know that's on TV or, you know, I don't know,
Yeah.
video games or whatever it is.
Right.
So it's interesting to finally, you're getting that next generation of kids like coming into reading. And that's why, yeah, maybe
Yep.
they need to spend like 5-10 bucks, buy a trade, buy a comic. But
Yep.
um, yeah, I think Free Comic Book Day is definitely well worth it. It's we didn't have it a couple of years ago because of COVID. They pushed it back. Then they did it in the summer. Like the following year, it was
Yep.
weird because it's like, how can you do Free Comic Book Day in the summer? Like everyone's on vacation. Like
Everybody's on vacation. It's really hard to do, you
yeah,
know?
like the first weekend in May is like the perfect time to do it. Like
Perfect.
it's
Yeah.
springtime. It should be getting for us here on the East Coast, we're getting warmer. I'm sure up by you it was a beautiful day. It was beautiful by me.
Gorgeous. Yep.
So, we love Free Comic Book Day. I think the book I picked up a couple books. I even read some books that I didn't think that I was, even going to try, but I just like,
Really?
I'm going to grab them. Maybe if down the line, like if they whenever the number ones come out, I'll pick them up. I'll try them. So
Yeah.
that's always like what we do here. I'm always trying to read new stuff. But
Mhm.
of course, the main thing having you here on the podcast this week because it is literally next weekend
Next weekend.
and I
Oh my
wanted to
God.
get you on here. And I think people who have never been to it, don't know anything about it, who don't watch you guys on YouTube, who've never seen how experienced and how fun this is the 3 Men in a Basement comic swap. So what are we on? Like the sixth, seventh one
This
now?
I'm telling you, I was trying to think about it today, Justin. This is probably this is the seventh one.
Mhm.
Okay. This is the seventh time that we've actually held this. And
And now
it's
for people that
really,
don't know, like
yeah.
give them the roots. Like where
Okay.
was the first one at? Like
No,
I
no,
know
but I'll
because
tell
I
you.
was there.
Yes, and we made the first purchase. We
Yes, we
made
did. You posted that the other.
yes, that was the first purchase at the 3 Men in a Basement comic book swap. So let's take it back, maybe 5 years ago, pre-COVID. People were collecting. The hobby was bustling. I mean, it still is bustling in different ways, but it was bustling. And there's a time in the seasons of comics, right? Because Comic Cons are cyclical in season wise.
Mhm.
And there's a downtime. And that downtime is where people get antsy. They maybe need to make some money. Maybe they got bored with the comic books that they bought a couple months ago, and they don't want to put them on eBay.
Mhm.
So I had reached out to Roger and I talked to you and I said, you know what? Why don't we see if we can get 30, maybe 25, 30 guys, maybe a couple dealers to show up at a restaurant or a bar and swap books, and then everybody's like, what? I mean, well, no, like you bring a short box, I bring a long box, you bring two short boxes, and let's get people from the Northeast together because
Mhm.
we've all been friends through social media. We've all, hung out on some type of platform, whether it was Google Hangout at the time or StreamYard, and let's just get together and I can get one or two big dealers, comic book dealers to show up. And lo and behold, we had 35 people at a former restaurant that I used to work at that let us have the place on a Sunday.
Mhm.
And, the people that showed up are the people that are still in the community. You showed up, Dave in the Cave, Very Gary was there, Jader Butcher, Dennis Four Comics was there. And I apologize if I'm not mentioning you guys. And that's when we actually started the raffle. Remember that, Justin?
Mm.
We started doing a raffle because that was a way to, keep people there. And really the one of the things about it was we didn't want you just to come look through some of your long boxes and take off because you know what? That you can do that in 20
You can do that at any
minutes.
show. Yeah, you can
You
do
can
it
do
at a
any
show,
show.
store, whatever. It's
Yes. Let's hang out, and let's hang out. Let's enjoy each other's company. Let's, if we have 10 conversations and 8 of them are about comics and 2 of them are about our real lives, and so be it. You know what I mean? But we interact every day about comics. So,
Mhm.
we must know something about each other's personal lives. We have that kind of connection. So it was 35 guys, and my brother Brett was there for Power Kid Comics, JNS Collectibles was there, and a lot of people showed up, and it was just a really, really cool time. And I remember I bought like the first Kang off Very Gary for like $225. I mean, I bought that Deadly Class review at a 9.8,
Yeah.
and like there was nobody in the place yet, but I'm like, I like this book. I like this cover,
The
so that was
food,
actually
the
the first
brunt,
deal.
the all you could eat, right? With
Oh, all you can eat buffet,
oh,
brunch, at the bar.
that
And
was
then,
like the best place. But
yeah,
so you've gone so far, you've had it there, obviously, and many other places, and now this is now the third year that you're doing it at the Angry Hare, right?
yep. The Angry Hair.
So
Yep. Angry. Yep.
the
Yep.
Angry Hare in Newington, Connecticut,
Connecticut.
give
Yes.
us the rundown of like what is involved with this, like what can people expect for
Right.
the returning people, maybe new people that are just finding out about this. Tell people why you should come.
Yeah, I'll tell you why you should come because it's a great day. It's
Mhm.
not just you show up, you pay your admission, and you leave 2.5 hours later. Okay. The whole premise of this is to keep you there because you're going to travel. And we're here in Newington, Connecticut. First and foremost, the Angry Hare is a 5,000 square foot business that my friend owns. And coming from a bald man, it's a hair salon / tattoo parlor / event center. Okay. So it's a really unique place. And, we have grown into 30 plus vendors. Of those vendors, you're going to get guys like Streetside Anthony, Very Gary, Brick House Comics. You're going to get True Kingdom Comics, guys who set up. But then you're going to get private collectors like Uncle Frank, like Brother Blaze, like Emerald Knight, like Mike the Beast Benston, guys who have books in their collection that they want to move to buy other books. And I think that's really important too. And if you're traveling, we made it a point to get a food truck, so you don't have to leave because the way I figured it was let's say we're here in Connecticut, you drive up from New York, 2-hour drive, you stop, you get your coffee, your bagel, your donuts, you drive up, you look through long boxes for a half hour or a half hour, 2 hours, and you're like, all right, let's get something to eat, and then you
Mhm.
leave. And
Yep.
then you leave. I mean, what fun is that? Then you got to drive home. No, stay for the day. You get the free pass. Bring the kids, bring the girlfriend, bring the wife. So we got a food truck, and it's always been a great one. It's two guys that run a Spanish American food truck, and we also get an ice cream truck that shows up later for the kids. We have a DJ. The DJ music is a little bit loud. I just want you to know that, but we are working on that. But the music keeps everybody elevated. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It keeps them moving. The music is great. I set up a little speakeasy for those of you guys who are 21 years of age. We do set that up, and it's just a great day. But the most unique thing about it is because we only charge $5 at the door, and I don't pay much for the retail, for the rental of the property, I have all the dealers donate a book for every table that they get. So Roger and I have figured it out that for every table you get, for example, J&S Collectibles gets 3 tables. They've been with us from day one. They will donate 1 book up to a $300 value, or 2 books at $150 at full retail, or 3 books at $100. So now we have a raffle table with over 35 great books, collectibles, that kind of stuff. And it's only $5 to get in the door. And it's free parking, which is a big deal. I want to talk about free parking in a minute because people were going crazy about WickedCon, about what they were paying to park.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, and you can buy raffle tickets. I think we do an arm length for $20, and then at the end of the day at 3:00, we don't keep it too late. At 3:00, we do a raffle, and you might put one raffle ticket in a First Omega Red 9.8. You might win it. You might put all your tickets in another book, and you can win it. So the whole premise is to keep you there to enjoy the experience. We called it a swap. It became more than a swap. I think it's more than a Comic-Con. I'd like to eventually call it an event because that's what I think it is. And as long as we have this venue, we're going to continue to do it. Last year we had over 350 people. This year I'm hoping for 500. And the dealers, we've only had 2 dealers not come back. One of them, or both of them actually, had family responsibilities. So all the dealers that did it all wanted to come back. So nobody said, hey, Otto, we're not doing that again. And when I talk to comic book promoters, and I know you too, Justin, when you go to the shows, the regular people are the people that you want to see, right? Because they know that it's a great day. And we planned it in May because for us here in Connecticut and in the tri-state area, that's 2 months 2 months before Terrificon for us. It's probably about a month after King Con. So, and it's the springtime. It's the weekend after Mother's Day and before Memorial Day. So I think we plan it perfectly, and it's all about timing. So
Yeah, and it's a big community event, and that's the thing. And we've been talking about it, every week here on the podcast. Of course, you also get your sponsorship people that
yes,
help support you guys, because obviously it's not, you can't just dump all your own money into this. And I
correct.
love,
Yep.
and actually it just came up on my memories the other day. I saw it where it was just like me and all the photos that I took from last year, and like all the people that just come out, and I know that like that's something that you don't really see in other parts of the community. I know Shortbox just did their live event this past weekend out in
Yeah.
California, and I know that you guys are. I think you're part of it, the Tulsa Comic Swap, right?
Yes. Yep.
So
Yeah.
you're a
Absolutely.
sponsor on that, and
Sponsor
I
of
know
them
someone
too. Yep.
else. So like people are starting to kind of get the idea, like it's not a show, right?
Right. Right.
It definitely started as a swap. It definitely it's a continuing as an event. I would never want to, you never want to call it a show. You want it to always be a community thing. I
Yeah.
mean, and like you said, you have the King Kong show, but that's still another. It's community driven.
Right.
All the vendors are, for the most part, they're all community people, whether they're Instagrammers or YouTubers, and I feel
Yep.
like that's 90% of what you guys have
Correct.
who
Yeah.
set up. Like everybody has a YouTube channel, or everybody has some type of social media where they're not coming from a shop, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And I think that's great.
And I think it was important too, because like I said, and just want to talk about, shout out to all the sponsors. If you head over to 3 Men in the Basement, you can find all the sponsors. Last year, we reached out to buddies who had businesses that had expense accounts. You know what I mean? That we knew it and said, hey, listen, we're doing this. You got some money, da 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 da. But this year, we were funded 100% of our sponsors, other than our local Dunkin' Donuts, are sponsored. We have I think we had over 15 sponsors at all different levels that are all comic book community members. Okay. All comic book community members have stepped up and said, hey, Otto, Roger, Dave, the brother, we believe in this. We want to help you make this happen. You know what I mean? And that's just a shout out to all the great people out there that, want to come and enjoy the day.
Yeah.
Buy good books, man. Buy good books.
Oh, of course. Can we expect Dunkin' Donuts to be there with coffees? Because
in the morning, first thing in the morning. They are definitely coming first thing in the morning.
Nice.
With coffee and donuts. And then the DJ will keep you there all day. And
Yep.
It's just a great event. Sometimes we go live the Friday before. Previous years, our good friends from Ages Comics of Alaska have come. The first year they surprised us.
Mhm.
Last year they came. This year they couldn't because of just the rough winter that they had. So people do travel, and that was our joke. If they can come from Alaska, you can come from New York, New Jersey, or Massachusetts, right?
Oh, true. You could fit a lot of us into the Angry Hair at a 5,000 square foot, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where you're coming from. I mean, you had people from King Kong. Somebody came up from Florida. Like the year before that, or the first time Greg had it, you had Mr. Wonkers come out from the Midwest.
Ohio,
So
yeah.
So you never know who's going to come this year from what state, but I think it's going to be an amazing event. Of course, and congratulate to you guys. Of course, it'll be next weekend. Obviously, this is dropping on May the 12th, this episode. But if you want, make sure you go back to 3 Men in the Basement's YouTube channel. They did a dealer preview. So that video is up right now on their YouTube channel. They did a live show for showing off some of the dealers that are going to be there, what they're bringing. But before let's kind of move on. Of course, what we always like to talk about here on the podcast is comic book articles. Like I said, there's nothing to talk about. The writer's strike going on with the movies, but there's still some stuff in the comic book world to talk about. And at least I have someone who definitely is an old school collector, an old school reader in Otto. So this one's coming over from bleedingcool.com. So Marvel Comics promises a rebirth for the Fall of X. Now, obviously, the whole Jonathan Hickman has been going for quite a while. I know Otto's a huge X-Men fan. This would be perfect for Zach as well. But this has been something that Jonathan Hickman has been working on for quite a while. So, of course, the Fall of X is planned for the upcoming relaunch of the X-Men, a sequel to Destiny of X, following of course, what just finished was Sins of Sinister. So starting with the free comic book day that just launched literally this past weekend in the Uncanny Avengers X-Men, you see some of the stuff that'll be changing in the status quo. But there's a lot of new books that are going to be coming out after this Fall of X. Just going to kind of go over some of the titles that are dropping with new number ones that you should be on the lookout for coming in August over the summer. So you have titles like there's going to be a Jean Grey little mini series. You have Uncanny Avengers.
Yeah.
You also have Children of the Vault, which is something that Zach always talks about when he's talking about his X-Men books. What are we currently reading? You do have, which is a very interesting title. I like the Dark X-Men title that they're going to be coming out with. The group is very interesting. Astonishing Iceman, Realm of X, and a new miniseries for Alpha Flight. So, just some of the new number ones to be on the lookout in August. Like I said, for myself, I think the Dark X-Men team sounds really interesting. It's got Madeline Pryor, Havoc, Archangel, Gambit, Azel, Zero, Albert, and Implate. So, wild team. I'm sure they're also Magneto's going to be in there somewhere. I know you're a big Alpha Flight
Yeah.
fan, right?
No,
So
I'm excited for this.
so, obviously that's coming out in August. Have you really been keeping up with the most current of the X-Men stuff? Have you been reading any of the Hickman
No,
stuff?
I haven't. I did do the Hickman run when it first started.
Mhm.
And for a guy in his 50s with attention deficit disorder, Jonathan Hickman is not the author you want to read. Okay. I enjoy it. I liked everything they did with it. I love the theory
Mhm.
of the Krakoan Islands. I loved I love the idea of Krakoa.
Mhm.
I loved it all, but it got too wordy and it just became too branching out for my brain to stay linear with. You know what I mean? If you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying. So,
Oh, yeah.
but this might be a great way for me to jump into it. The Alpha Flight does look great. I like the Realm of X. I think that looks really, really neat. Magic, you can't go wrong. One of my favorite newer characters. So I'm interested in to see Realm of X, Alpha Flight. And then the Magneto. Can't wait to see what they have to say about that. And then Children of the Vault, just because I listen to what Zach says, and if Zach likes mutant stuff, I'll follow along with it. So just to
Yeah,
see. So I'm
it's a
interested.
really interesting, the characters out of that have been very interesting, and when he talks about it here on the podcast, it makes me want to dive in. But yeah, I feel like if you're not up to date with like the X-Men stuff, it's tough to just kind of randomly pick it up. But at least you have other titles that if you obviously these miniseries, that all right, it's only gonna be 5 issues, like we just spoke about. Alpha Flight's only gonna be 5 issues. So listen,
Correct.
you can pick up those 5 issues, read it in a concise storyline, and
Yes.
you'll be
Perfect.
okay.
Yep.
Some of these other ones are going to be ongoing. Obviously, the other one that we talk about, that's not really too much of the X team, but you have Uncanny Avengers. I mean, it does have X characters in there. It's got the teams Captain America, Rogue, Deadpool, Quicksilver, Psylocke, and Penance, which they're all characters that are been on the Avengers before. The Uncanny Avengers team has always been a nice revolving chain. Obviously, we get the relaunch of regular Avengers, so I'm excited to actually check out some of these titles. Like you said, I think Realm of X is cool with Magic, and there's going to be all little tie-ins, of course, with all the other titles that throughout the Marvel universe. With like Iron Man is in there, Ghost Rider, Wolverine as well. So definitely go check out this article over at bleedingcool.com. And then on the flip side of that, we do have a nice little article that just got posted over at CBR, actually comicbook.com for DC. So
Yes.
this actually was just announced on last week, and unfortunately, since we kind of we recorded our episode a little early of last week for Guardians of the Galaxy, DC Comics dropped a nice announcement for some Golden Age characters to be back into the world of DC. So DC's new Golden Age continues with 3 new miniseries. So of course, with the dawn of DC, where they're going to be shining light on the new Golden Age of DC characters. So announced 3 new 6-issue miniseries is going to be starting up from the publisher Golden Age. So you have Alan Scott, the Green Lantern, you got Jay Garrick, the Flash, and Wesley Dodds, the Sandman. And now each of them are very interesting. Of course, Jeff Johns says it's a long time since these heroes of the Justice Society had their own titles. Of course, they've gone through a very emotional time throughout the DC universe and introducing new heroes and villains from their previous times. So, you're an old school collector. What do you
Yeah.
think? Who
Bring
out
it
of
on.
these
Anything,
three?
Justice League, Justice Society, what's old is new again,
Mhm.
and bring back some of these characters because they were so instrumental in building all the other characters. Just the fact that you're going to talk about the Jay Garrick character to me is just amazing. Let's bring it on. Let's talk about this and let's see how these books impact the Silver Age and Golden Age copies of these books. You know what I mean? So this might, if you enjoy the Justice Society, the next thing you might go back and buy some older Justice Society books. And how is this play out? If this is a great way to bring, newer readers into it, that's great. But more importantly, to bring older readers like myself into it, and to just pick something up off the shelf and give it a shot. We love comic books, we love stories. If it's as long as it makes sense, man, you know what I mean? Even if it's bad, I just won't buy it. I don't, mother F it. I don't, say this is, it's, me, Justin, it's gotta be really bad for me to hate something out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know you for
To
that.
show my
And
distance. I almost
it's
like
just
everything,
great because it's like you have newer readers, right? And with this dawn of DC, they're bringing out a lot of newer characters, and that's fine because obviously that's what DC and Marvel need to do. They need to stop just rehashing the same characters. But you have 60, what are we at, like 80 years of history with DC Comics, and these
Yeah,
characters have been around since the 40s. And they say Alan Scott hasn't had an ongoing series since the 40s, so
right.
there's a history there. Like, if these characters show up in any of these normal comics in the past 10 years, a younger reader is going to be like, oh, who's this Green Lantern? Like, I know Hal Jordan, I know John Stewart, like, I don't know this Alan Scott character, or even Jay Garrick, like the original Flash.
Yeah.
There's too many Flashes to keep up with, but you need to know where they came from. So I like the idea of these characters that they're bringing back, and especially the Jay Garrick one seems very interesting. In the article, it goes about, it's saying it's hard to being a parent, especially when your kid is a speedster. Jay Garrick has been reunited with his long lost daughter Judy, but figuring out how to connect to her is proving to be difficult. So of course you have the Flash, and then the Boom, or it basically is going to be thwarting a plan that's been in the work for decades. So all these characters are very interesting. Sandman, I mean, you're bringing back the original Sandman. We're
Yeah.
not talking like the
Unbelievable.
Netflix, the Neil Gaiman stuff. We're talking about the
Mhm.
original, like 40s version, he's got like a mask and like a
Yeah.
gun and stuff like that. So
Jesus.
um they're all interesting characters. I'm excited to definitely check out the Jay Garrick and especially the Alan Scott, because I feel like Alan Scott kind of got a resurgence in the New 52 when they did the Earth 2 run, when
Yes.
they changed it over, and it was, they introduced him as a gay character. You had a different, Green Lantern, because like we hadn't seen those in a very long time. Even Jay Garrick, they brought back Jay Garrick. So these are characters that have such a history, and I feel like if you don't respect the history and you forget about it, it's just like these newer readers are only going to know these newer characters. So
Yeah, agreed to all that, man. Just pick it up, man. Pick it up, give it a try, support your local LCSs. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. You know what I mean? But maybe it will be. Who knows?
yeah. So, of course, since there's not much to talk about in the TV and the movie stuff, we of course end our shows of like we always do with what are we currently reading. Um, Otto, is there anything that you want to bring to the people's attention, or anything that you're just currently reading that's exciting, that's keeping you abreast on the current world
Well,
of comic books?
the best thing I've read all year is the One Bad Day run from DC. Okay.
Hmm.
So I absolutely, and that's the only thing I'm reading right now. I know it's finished up. I'll tell you, my favorite one was by far the Penguin. And I enjoyed the Mr. Freeze. I have yet to read the Clayface. And I think then I'll be done with the series. And then I'm going to read it. Then I'm going to read, because for those of you guys who don't know, One Bad Day all stemmed from the Killing Joke, right? And that's where this kind of follows along. And the Killing Joke for me was such an iconic story. When I was a kid, it transcended comic books at the time. It was Alan Moore. It was just unbelievable, and it just changed comic books and what they did with super villains and characters and young influential minds like mine. So then I'm going to take them all, and I'm going to read them all, and then maybe at some point I'll do a review on them and talk about it. But there's not one that I didn't like.
Hmm.
I just think that the Penguin was by far my favorite, just because they're one shots, and to tell such a story in one comic book issue is just brilliant. And for me, Batman was a secondary character in it.
Hmm.
And it was about the villains, it was about what made them tick, it was about what they did with it. And so that's the only thing I've been reading. And I know that's not too current. I like to buy my back issues and read older books, but right
Oh,
now
that's fine, man. Yeah.
the One Bad Day is what I've been enjoying.
Yeah, that first one that came out, the Riddler one, I was a big fan of.
Yes,
And
very
like
good.
exactly like you said, it ties into Killing Joke. It was so good. I remember when
It's
it
so
first
good,
came
right?
out.
And for that point, Justin, for if you guys are reading this book, I'm getting chills when I tell you this. It's 9 panel pages,
Yep.
9 panel pages of different art and dialogue. And it is, I mean, it is heavy, but for me, I could get through it because I only had to get through one issue. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah, you
why I
don't have to worry
enjoyed it.
about it like month after month. It's
No, no,
one
no.
and done. So
Yep.
that's what's great about the one shots that they did for One Bad Day. Because sometimes books come out like they did, like Paul Dano did the Riddler. I read the first two issues and I forgot that the series was out, and then
Yeah.
I forget about it. But at least
Yeah.
this, it's like it's a one shot. It's over.
Yep.
I think I can't remember if they came out with the trades or the hardcover yet, but yeah, they're definitely great, especially for Batman fans, and they're
Yeah.
all awesome villains. So, anything else that you're reading, or that's all? That's
No,
pretty much
that's
it.
it. That's it for now, So
All right. So for myself this week, was definitely a big week, of course, after Free Comic Book Day. We just saw a new #1 from Dawn of DC. The Green Lantern #1 just dropped, which was really interesting. So if anybody who's been keeping up with Dark Crisis, obviously the Guardians of Oa are kind of like nowhere to be found. They've kind of quarantined Earth as far as the Green Lantern. So Hal Jordan is kind of brought back to Earth and can't leave. And he's trying to find out why. And of course, there's the one person who he hates and who he can't stand is Sinestro. So
right.
this first intro issue is it kind of reminded me of like New 52 Green Lantern, because it's like if you haven't really been reading Green Lantern, all the main players are there. Hal's there, you got Carol Ferris is there, and of course Sinestro is in the background somewhere. So good, kickoff issue to this Dawn of DC. And there's other things that are in the works with Guy Gardner as well. That's kind of like a secondary story in there, which is very interesting. And some pretty bad things are happening. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read this. And then another title that just came out this week, which is probably one of my favorite, I guess, timelines, is the Sean Murphy's, Batman White Knight. So the White Knight Presents Generations Jokers #1 just came out this week. The kind of storyline, it kind of revolves around the Joker's kids, Bryce and Jackie. It's kind of going to be an 8-issue run. The writers are the people that wrote the Harley Quinn one and also the Red Hood one, which was very interesting as well. So I was super happy to pick up that. And then last but not least, something epic, real quick, something epic from, and I was just talking about this with the Bird City team last week, Image Comics. So it's basically about this kid who can see things, whether it's like video game characters or like crazy things that are happening in like a parallel world, like hidden to himself. Like there's magical creatures, there's monsters, this and that. But it's
Really?
almost like he can see it, but the adults can't see it, because obviously if you're a kid, you could see things faster than people can. But he basically doesn't interact with anything. Like he'll see these creatures, but doesn't. He knows they're there. They talk, but he doesn't respond to them. So it's kind of like almost like if he doesn't, he just kind of like lives in this world because he's afraid to do anything. He's a very smart child, but he doesn't want to interact with them, and he's very alone in this world. But it's very interesting that in the panels, like it's done great. Like the art is very much like Liber Mayho,
Oh,
but
really?
like
Okay.
there's like cartoon characters. Like there's like an 8-bit character who looks like Ninja Gaiden or Shinobi.
Really?
Like yeah,
That's
there's
awesome.
like a character who's in like there's like a Donald, like there's like a Howard the Duck looking character. And then there's like just other random characters that just show up, but like it's still the real world. They're just like hanging around him.
Yeah.
He doesn't, you remember that movie like Cool World with Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like that. Like it's real, it's like real, but there's all these different characters around.
Right.
And the kid doesn't want to pay attention to them because he doesn't want to get upset. Like there's vampires and other things that are in there. So definitely an interesting story. I knew about the book obviously from the exclusives that Bird City put out, and then I find it just came out this week. So very interesting title. Make sure you go check out the #1 if you get a chance, from Image Comics. It's called Something Epic. Um, Otto, I know you got to go because you have something going on this evening, but I want to thank you again for coming on here and again talking about the swab. Please, if anybody who's out there listening, you all know, please go follow Otto from the Grotto at 3 Men in the Basement. Follow the YouTube
Yeah.
channel if you can make it to next week's one-day show. If not, you'll see tons of pictures from everybody in the community.
Comic-Con podcast will be there in full effect.
I will be there. I will be there very early on
So,
Friday.
sorry, I'm going to tell you this. I go, Justin, do you want a table? Do you want to set up and sell? He goes, no, dude, I'm buying. I'm strictly buying. I'm buying.
That's probably really good that I didn't spend any money on
That's
Free
what I was
Comic
saying.
Book
So
Day.
maybe subliminally you were like, all right, if I work this, I'll save and I'll buy. It's the swap,
Yeah,
So
I got to do enough whatnot sales over the next week before
yeah,
I
right,
can come
right.
over there. So, but and then because of not only the normal of course, the swap itself, but I always hit up the local shops down
You do,
by you too.
absolutely. Yeah.
So it's fun. So again, 3 Men in the Basement. Otto, before we get any closing words, let the people know again where they can find you and everything and
No.
what's going on.
Great time, great talking about comic books. Great being able to do this. A lot different from me to be sitting here, not showing you pictures of books that I bought or showing you the things that I picked up. So really, really great. Thank you very much for having me. You can follow me at 3 Men in a Basement, all one word, the number 3. You can follow me at Otto_grotto on Instagram. Just give us a follow. You can always find Roger Levesque, Dave in the Cave, and my buddy Dave Chinmo has been helping us out, and Dave Levesque, the brother. So we got a lot of Daves. Try and do our 2 shows every week, every 2 weeks, our live shows with some pre-recorded stuff. So we got a lot of things going on. And, after the swap, if we don't see you at the swap, we'll definitely see you at Terrificon. We're going to be set up there. Can't wait. This is the show to be at. This is our New York Comic-Con. Maybe we'll be on 3 Men in the Basement. Maybe we'll be on here talking about it. But this is definitely the ramp up to our Super Bowl. And I know Justin will agree with that.
Oh, yeah. I was telling, I forget real quick, I was telling Newbie or somebody, I was like, is it July yet? Like, I just need it to be the end of July. Like, it's like a kid in a candy shop, but it's just like the casino, the community, the comics. Perfect.
Right.
So. And don't forget, if you're listening to this early enough, this Saturday, May the 13th, the Phillipsburg Comic-Con, I talked about it a couple weeks ago. It's put on by the Phillipsburg Anime Club, the high school teacher over there. I will be there. There's actually a lot of other community members. They got some really good artists and stuff. So check that out in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. It's literally right over the bridge into Pennsylvania. So make sure you check out that show if you're listening to this early enough as well.
Awesome.
Otto, thank you so much. We're going to get out of here. Appreciate it. And don't forget. Oh, and real quick, I want to thank everybody who supported the Comic-Con podcast first cover collab with Mad Love Comics. There are still some available through Mad Love Comics and Art. Go check out their website, madlovecomicsandart.com. Everybody who purchased will be getting them soon. I'm just getting them. Hopefully they're coming back from the printer within the next few weeks. I am holding back some few ones just because I do want to probably get some graded and or sell them at a different time. So, if you're still interested, there are very, very few left. Hit me up on, of course, my DMs or the Comic-Con podcast. So that's everybody. Thank you so much. Peace out.